May 2nd, 1945. Berlin is engulfed in flames. The city, once the heart of a vast empire, now lies in smoldering ruin. Into this wasteland, 3 Soviet generals descend, stepping carefully through the wreckage of what was once the Nazi capital. They are entering Hitler's underground shelter, a place long rumored, now finally within reach. What they encounter in the depths beneath the rubble will alter history in ways no one could have predicted. One of them stares in disbelief, unable to process what he sees. Another immediately reaches for a radio, his voice trembling as he calls Moscow. But the third stands motionless, struck into silence by something far more unsettling than death, something that speaks without words. The walls themselves seem to whisper secrets, etched with the final hours of a collapsing regime. Papers lie strewn across the floor, scattered like leaves in a storm, revealing the last desperate actions of a man who once commanded millions. And then they find the room. What Stalin demands next leaves even his most loyal officers stunned. What transpired in that hidden chamber would remain locked away for decades until now. The arrival begins on a day when the war in Europe is effectively over. Yet the generals feel no triumph. Their faces are tight with tension, their steps measured and cautious. Marshal Zhukov, Stalin's most trusted war leader, leads the procession. Behind him follows General Chukov, the man who fought block by block to claim the city. With them is another high-ranking officer, silent, observant. The entrance to the bunker is unassuming, buried beneath layers of collapsed concrete and earth, camouflaged by the devastation above. The air around it reeks of death, decay, and smoke. German soldiers lie motionless in the debris, their bodies twisted in the final throes of battle. The generals descend the narrow stairwell, the only light coming from their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The air grows colder, heavier, as if the bunker itself resists their presence. Their boots echo against the concrete walls, a rhythmic beat in the silence. No one speaks. They don't know what awaits below, but they know one thing. Stalin wants answers, and he wants them now. When they reach the lower levels, the reality hits them like a physical force. The bunker is more compact than anticipated, almost claustrophobic, yet it carries an eerie, unnatural presence. Personal belongings are strewn about: coats, books, a pair of gloves as if someone fled in a rush. Half-eaten meals sit abandoned on tables, flies already gathering. But the generals are not here for food or clothing. They are here for proof, for bodies. And General Choikov is the first to see it. He gestures toward a doorway, his hand steady but his breath shallow. The others move forward, their boots crunching over shattered glass. The atmosphere is thick, suffocating, as though the air itself remembers what happened here. Inside the cramped chamber, they find what they have been searching for. 2 charred remains, one larger, one smaller, both consumed by fire. Marshal Zhukov kneels beside them, inspecting every inch with clinical precision. The bodies are unrecognizable, the faces obliterated. Whoever tried to erase them did not succeed, not fully. The fire burned hot, but not long enough, not hot enough to destroy everything. One general murmurs, almost to himself, "Is this really him?" No one answers. Because if these are not Hitler and Eva Braun, then where are they? And if they are, what does that mean for the war? For the world? For Stalin? The confusion sets in quickly. These remains could belong to anyone. The larger corpse bears no facial features, only blackened bone. Identification would require dental records, and for that, they would need Hitler's dentist, a woman whose whereabouts are unknown. Zhukov makes a call. He orders his men to document everything: photographs, notes, samples, every shred of evidence. Stalin will demand a full report, and Zhukov knows better than to deliver incomplete information. But there are signs everywhere. Nearby, they find Hitler's dog, Blondie, dead from cyanide poisoning. Empty poison vials litter the floor. On a desk, they discover signed documents dated just days prior, bearing Hitler's unmistakable handwriting. All the evidence suggests he died here, in this bunker, by his own hand. Yet without irrefutable proof, they cannot be sure. General Chukov proposes a bold move. Announce to the world that Hitler has been found. The others immediately reject the idea. Stalin would never forgive such a mistake. If they declare these bodies to be Hitler's and are wrong, the consequences would be catastrophic. So they choose silence. They continue searching, room by room, combing through every corner, every drawer, every cabinet, hoping for a clue, a confirmation, anything that will end the doubt. Then they reach Hitler's private office. The scene is overwhelming. Papers cover every surface: maps, military orders, personal letters, urgent telegrams. The generals begin reading, and what they uncover is a descent into madness. Hitler, in his final days, was issuing commands to phantom armies, ordering attacks with divisions that had already surrendered or been annihilated. He was planning counteroffensives with soldiers who no longer existed. One document reveals his dismissal of his most devoted generals. Another shows his directive to destroy every vital structure in Germany: bridges, factories, power grids, entire cities if he could not rule them. He wanted nothing left. He wanted his own nation reduced to ash. He lost his mind, one general mutters. But the true horror lies elsewhere. Among the papers, they find records of high-ranking Nazis who fled the bunker before its fall. Men like Himmler, Bormann, and others. They slipped away, vanishing into the chaos. Zhukov knows instantly. Stalin will want them hunted. Every single one. The war may be over, but the pursuit of vengeance has only just begun. The generals collect the most crucial documents, knowing they will need translators, historians, forensic experts, and time. But time is a luxury Stalin does not grant. Back in the dimly lit command post, Zhukov locates a working telephone line, a rare miracle in a city reduced to rubble. He connects directly to Moscow. Stalin picks up personally. The conversation is short, icy, and charged with tension. "Did you find him?" Stalin asks, his voice devoid of emotion. Zhukov pauses. That brief hesitation is enough. "Yes or no, Marshal Zhukov?" Stalin snaps. Zhukov then recounts everything: the burned bodies, the lack of definitive proof, the scattered documents, the signs of suicide, the dog, the poison, the chaos. Stalin listens in silence. Then, after a pause so long it feels dangerous, he speaks. "Tell no one. Not the Americans, not the British, not anyone. Do you understand?" Zhukov understands the order, but not the reason. Why hide the death of the world's most hated man? The entire planet is desperate to know his fate. Stalin explains calmly, chillingly. If Hitler is confirmed dead, he becomes a martyr. If he is missing, he becomes a ghost. Let the world wonder, let them fear, let them search endlessly. But there is more. Something Stalin does not say aloud. He intends to use the uncertainty as a tool, a weapon. By controlling the narrative, he controls perception. By keeping the truth hidden, he keeps the fear alive. What follows is one of the most secretive operations in modern history. Stalin orders the remains secretly transferred, not once, but multiple times, to different locations to avoid detection. Soviet scientists are brought in under total secrecy to conduct autopsies, examine dental records, and analyze tissue samples. Investigators are dispatched to locate Hitler's dentist. Eventually, they find her. She confirms, after comparing the dental work, that the larger body matches Hitler's records. Yet Stalin still refuses to announce the truth. Instead, he begins a campaign of disinformation. Different versions of the story are leaked to different groups. Some Soviet officers are told Hitler escaped to South America. Others hear he died in a last stand against Soviet troops. A few are informed he was captured alive and taken to Moscow. The purpose is not confusion for confusion's sake, it is control. By ensuring no one knows the truth, Stalin controls the truth itself. He can manipulate the narrative, use it as propaganda, intimidate surviving Nazis, and even pressure the Western powers when necessary. Years later, General Zhukov would describe this as one of Stalin's most cunning psychological operations. One that kept an entire generation on edge. Nazi hunters scoured the globe for a man who had been dead for decades, all while the truth sat buried in Soviet archives. Meanwhile, back in Berlin, the generals receive new orders so disturbing they dare not speak of them for years. They are instructed to remain silent about what they saw, what they did, What they buried. The bunker is not just a shelter, it is a labyrinth of horror. As they explore deeper, they uncover evidence of mass suicides, summary executions, and unimaginable despair. The final days in that underground tomb were not a retreat, they were a descent into hell. And then, they find the unthinkable: children's clothing, toys, a small pair of shoes. The Goebbels family, Joseph and Magda, had murdered their 6 children before taking their own lives. The generals find the tiny bodies, arranged in a room like a grotesque tableau. That image never leaves them. In a 1965 interview, Marshal Zhukov would say that entering Hitler's bunker was the most traumatic experience of his life. Worse than Stalingrad, worse than Kursk, worse than any battlefield. Because there, he saw not war, but the pure, unfiltered cost of absolute evil. General Zhukov, in his private memoirs, wrote that he often wished they had simply sealed the bunker with explosives, buried it forever. Some places, he believed, should never be preserved, only forgotten. Yet Stalin demanded the opposite. Everything must be recorded, everything must be kept, everything must be controlled. The generals obeyed, but their silence was not empty. Decades later, in private conversations, secret diaries, and deathbed confessions, they finally broke their silence. They spoke of the nightmare they had witnessed, of the evil they had seen consume itself, of the proof that monsters are not myths, they are real, and they can rise to power. But they also spoke of something else, something that disturbed them just as deeply. They spoke of Stalin's silence, because Stalin could have ended the mystery. He could have shown the world the body, released the dental records, declared the war truly over, but he chose not to. He chose to let the myth live. Why? Because he understood a fundamental truth about power: uncertainty breeds fear, fear breeds obedience, and the control of information is the greatest power of all. The truth about Hitler's death was not officially acknowledged by the Soviets until the 1960 seconds, 2 decades after the fact. And even then, they did not reveal everything. Some files from that bunker remain classified to this day, locked away in vaults, guarded by silence. The Soviet generals who entered Berlin did more than capture a city. They uncovered a truth so dark, it reshaped history. Their words, long suppressed, revealed not just the end of a tyrant, but the beginning of a new kind of war. One fought not with tanks and bullets, but with secrets and silence. The quotes from those men, their shock, their horror, their quiet despair were buried for decades, but they echo still. Their entry into Berlin exposed not only the fall of the Third Reich, but the manipulation of truth by those who claimed to be its liberators. The statements of Soviet commanders during the capture of Berlin were never meant for public eyes, and when they finally emerged, they carried the weight of unspoken guilt. What these generals said after the Battle of Berlin, and after their victory, continues to influence our understanding of power, propaganda, and the human capacity for darkness. Their reaction to the fall of the Nazi capital proved that even the victors are haunted by what they see. To uncover more of what was never spoken, one must search the hidden archives, the whispered confessions, the unmarked graves, and ask not just what happened in that bunker, but why the truth was kept from the world for so long.